Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really common for English speakers. Well, for those who learned it later on. That whole thing of, still thinking in your first language and then translating in your head.
Yeah, definitely. And that adds, well, an extra mental step, doesn't it? Between the thought and actually saying it.
Really does.
And it can definitely affect how smooth you sound, how quick you are.
Absolutely. So we've been looking at some great points from a self-growth podcast focused on this. And our mission today is basically to pull out some practical step-by-step things you can do.
Right. Techniques to actually start thinking in English.
Exactly. To help you shift from just like knowing English to really living in it. The idea is smoother, faster, more natural chat.
And feeling more confident, too, which is huge.
Definitely a confidence booster. Okay, so let's dig into why. Why is thinking in English such a big deal?
Well, the biggest plus really is cutting out that mental translation process, just getting rid of it.
Right.
So when you're talking to someone, you're not doing that constant back and forth in your head, native language to English, English back. It saves time.
And mental energy. I mean, think about it. If you're trying to have a quick conversation, that translation is like a speed bump.
Yeah, delay. Exactly.
Yeah.
Get rid of that and your speech just flows better. Much more responsive.
It's like a direct line, thought to word.
Yeah. And think about the confidence side of things. When you're not constantly translating or, searching for the perfect word in your head.
You're not second-guessing yourself as much.
Exactly. You just feel more, sure of yourself, more fluent. You're actually expressing your thoughts directly, not just a translation.
Okay, so the why is pretty clear. It makes a real difference. Now, the how. How do we actually start doing this?
Right.
The Source podcast had some really practical, daily tricks. The first one, super simple, just naming things around you in English.
Yeah, and what's good about that is it's active. You're not just, seeing stuff.
Yeah.
You're making a deliberate point of putting the English label on it in your mind. It builds that direct connection about the thing and the English word for it.
They had a great example. Like you're walking down the street and you consciously think, okay, red car, person crossing the road, that's a big tree on the left.
Simple, right, but effective.
Seems simple, but it's really strengthening that immediate link. Visual to English label. No middle step.
You're basically carving out new paths in your brain. So instead of seeing, a red car and thinking the word in your first language, then translating.
You just jump straight to red car.
Exactly. Strengthens that direct path. Takes time, but it works.
Okay, technique number 2. This one's about talking to yourself.
Self-talk, yeah. But in English.
Might feel a bit weird at first, maybe.
It might. But the podcast really pushed it as helpful. It's like a safe space to practice, right? Low pressure. Just you formulating thoughts in English.
Totally. And the examples were just everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Like thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to make coffee now.
Or, where are my keys?
Yeah. Just verbalizing those little internal moments. But in English, it starts to make English your default inner voice.
It's like narrating your own life, but in English. You describe what you're doing, thinking, feeling to yourself. Good practice for vocab, sentence structure, all that in context.
Okay, and the third one kind of gets right to the heart of it.
Yeah.
It's about processing your thoughts, even feelings, straight into English. Consciously deciding not to translate.
Yeah, this is where you really start cutting the cord to your native language as that middleman.
It takes focus, though. You have to actively stop yourself from translating.
Definitely. It's about catching that automatic habit.
The example they used was really clear. Let's say you feel tired. Instead of thinking the word for tired in your first language, I think they used Hindi.
Yeah.
You train yourself to immediately jump to the English, I'm tired.
Direct link feeling to English expression.
Exactly. You feel it, you think it in English.
And that's, a deeper level of getting the language inside you. It's not just words anymore. It's linking concepts, feelings directly to English. Takes practice, obviously.
Consistent practice.
But yeah, really effective for getting that intuitive feel for English.
So these mental drills are great. But the source also talked a lot about your environment, creating an English bubble around yourself.
Immersion, basically. Even if you're not, living in an English-speaking country.
Right. How do you surround yourself with it?
It's all about getting as much exposure as possible. The more English you hear and see, the more your brain just starts processing it automatically. Less effort involved.
Makes sense. And they had some really concrete ideas for this. One was changing your phone language.
Simple, right. But think about how often you look at your phone.
All the time. Menus, notifications, app names.
Exactly. It becomes this constant low-level reinforcement, little bits of English interaction all day long. They add up.
Another one was watching stuff, TV shows, movies in English.
Yeah, and they suggested starting with subtitles on maybe in your own language or English to get the gist. But then the key is to try turning them off gradually.
So you start relying more on just listening.
Right. You focus on the sounds, the rhythm, how people actually talk. Your brain starts connecting the sounds directly to the meaning without needing the text there.
And podcasts, of course, like this one.
Absolutely. Great way to just absorb the language, different voices, different topics while you're doing other things.
Commuting, chores, whatever. They also mentioned reading. Not just books, but like...
anything, really. Simple books, yeah, but also tweets, articles, signs on the street.
just keep feeding your brain English from different places.
Yeah. The key things are frequency and variety. See it often, see it in different ways. Your brain gets better at spotting the patterns and using English without you having to, like, force it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Immersion is key. Then the final big point they made was about, well, actually using it, talking to people.
And crucially, not being afraid to mess up.
Ah, the fear of mistakes. That's a big one for learners.
Huge. But actually talking, even short, simple conversations, forces you to think on your feet in English. It puts all the other practice into action.
Real-time application.
Exactly.
And they suggested things like finding English speaking groups or using those language exchange apps.
Yeah, practical ways to just get talking, often in a pretty supportive setting, too. You're talking to other learners or native speakers who expect you to be learning. Less pressure.
Right. Which brings us back to the mistakes thing. People worry so much.
They do, but the podcast had a great line. Mistakes are your teachers.
I like that.
Yeah, it reframes it, doesn't it? Errors aren't failures. They're just information.
Information about what you need to work on.
Exactly. Every slip-up actually helps you learn the right way for next time, if you pay attention to it. Anyway.
So the message is, just keep talking. Keep trying to think in English, even if it's clumsy at first.
Every try, even a flawed one, gets you a tiny bit closer.
It's really a mindset shift, isn't it? Embracing that learning curve.
Totally. Accepting the messiness of learning instead of letting it shut you down.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The main takeaway from this source, really, seems to be that thinking in English, it's a process, a gradual one.
Definitely not overnight. But if you're consistent with these kinds of techniques, you will see big improvements. Fluency, confidence, the whole package.
And those daily practices we talked about. Naming stuff around you.
The self-talk in English.
Trying to think your thoughts directly in English, skipping the translation.
Yeah, and just soaking yourself in English as much as you can. Immersion.
Right. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Just consider, what if you spent, say, 5 or 10 minutes a day on one of these?
Just a small commitment.
Yeah. How might that slowly change how you feel about using English? Which of these ideas kind of clicked with you the most?
And maybe what's one tiny thing you could try, like today or tomorrow?
Because every little bit really does help move you down that path towards thinking directly in English.